Alright, guys, so I've been watching King's Avatar on Netflix, the live action series, and it's one of the best shows I've seen in a long time. I need to talk about it, and I need to get you guys prepared for if they make a game based on it, which you'd think they would have to because Sword Art Online was a huge deal, and they made games about it. And they made like Naruto games and stuff, but like this is way beyond all that because this is an anime based on an online RPG like Warcraft or something. But they play the game in the anime, so it's kind of already got its own kind of rules and stuff already laid out. So you wouldn't have to like make a new game based on it. You just have to make the game that's in the show. I could tell you the story of the show real quick. I mean, there's some drama to it. It's really interesting too because like it starts out with this guy. He's like the god of gaming. There's this team called Excellent Era. He's like the best player on the team. He's kind of getting old though. He's like 26 or something, and like 30 is kind of like the max for like pro gamers and stuff. It's all about the esports scene too. So there's like it transitions between people in real life playing esports and people in the game playing the game. And he gets kicked off of his team for being too old, even though he's won all these awards. He's like the best player in the world anybody's ever seen. They call him the textbook of glory. That's the name of the game. It's called Glory. And he knows like all the classes, even though he plays a battle mage. So what he does is he had this friend growing up that got him into like they made the esports league themselves, them and some other dudes, I think. So his name is Yichu. He's like the best in the world. And his buddy growing up was named Su Mukyu. And he died. But he was in the middle of creating this weapon, crafting it. It's called the Myriad Manifestation Umbrella. So you got these like different classes. I should show you these classes to go through it. Show you what all you got going on here. This it? No, is this it? No, that's the anime. That's the. Okay, they all have the like weapons they call like equipment, and it can be like they start out I think like purple, and then you get orange ones, and then you get silver. Silver is like super hard to come by, and it's really powerful. It's kind of like the final tier. Once you get into like the heavenly realm, that's where like the actual. Like, and in Warcraft it'd be like when you get level 60 and start doing in-game content. So if you play a fighter, you got 4 classes: Brawler, Grappler, Keymaster, and Striker. If you play a gunner, you got 4 classes: Launcher, Mechanic, Sharpshooter, and Spitfire. So I don't know what Sharpshooter is. Spitfire, I think, is the guys that have like dual-wielding SMGs. Mechanic is a guy who has these 2 shoulder cannons, and he can call in like these airdrops from a gunship. Launcher is what Sumu Q's sister plays, Sumu Cheng. And it's like you got a big rocket launcher, and you can pull out pistols if you get close range. And Battle Mage is like the main mage. That's like a big a lance spear kind of user. And they can do all these weird moves like they shoot out these big dragons. I think it's called Dragon Soars the Sky. It's like you're playing dragon. It goes across like a straight attack, like a Hadoken sort of. And you got Dragon Rising from the Sea, which does kind of like a wave thing, which shows you, it hides your normal attacks or something. And then there's like these moves. Like when you move around, you use your mouse and you do like gestures. Weird like slashes and checks and circles and whatever your gesture is, it's kind of like casting a spell. So you have to know how to do it. And you have to really practice and get good at it. So Yichu, when he was playing Battle Mage, he could do this thing called Dragon Raises Its Head. So it's like if you threw the dragon out, and then when it gets to the character that you're fighting, it lifts up. And it kind of juggles them in the air, and it just kills all their health off because it's like constantly hitting them. And he's the only one that can do that. Nobody else knows how to do it. Except for the guy that takes his place. He kind of learns it once, and he don't really do it that much. And then he learns this other move. The guy that takes his place called Dragon turns its head, and it like makes him turn around and kind of follow you. And then you chew at the end. I'm on like episode 39 right now. On like episode 38, he blocks that, and he drags it to the guy that casts it, and he like flips it onto him, and he kills him with his own move. So that's the kind of weird shit you can do in this game. It's like you gotta learn how to do stuff, and then you can like invent your own skills, sort of. Like there's this guy Qiao Yifan. He plays like a ghost blade, which is down here in the swordsman, and he does these things called ice boundaries, and he does like this ghost boundary that kind of traps you in a spot, and then he pulls out this whole like 8-circle pentagram thing that shoots you and juggles you up in the sky. But he did this thing where he like a vanishing step sort of a thing, like he disappears and leaves an after image, and like he just invented that like all of a sudden. So it's really cool. I don't know what Spellblade is. Berserker. Blade Master. I think he was playing like... no, he was playing Ghostblade at first. And then he makes him switch to a... oh shit, what's it called? The Demon... Phantom Demon. Where's Phantom Demon? It's not on here. Yeah, this must not be exactly right, because there's a Phantom Demon. And then you got this Warlock. There's a guy that's like 30 years old. He's like retired, but he brings him back into the game, and he's like a Warlock. And they're really good, because they can like... they can contain people. They can put you in these tri-pentagram, kind of a hexagram thing that holds you into place. And then they can do this like black hole where these tentacles come out and they grab like 4 people and they can like pull them slowly into the thing, the Gate of Death. Because he created this Wand of Death, kind of like crafted wand. And then you got these witches that fly around on like broomsticks and they wand at you from the sky. Which you would want to use like a launcher to counter those, because they can shoot ranged up into the sky. So it's got a lot of like balance to it. There's this one guy, what's his name, like Mofan. He plays the ninja. And the ninja can like do a lot of like real sudden big attacks. And they can tunnel under the ground and like get within melee range of you and like thrust up from the ground. They can throw ninja shurikens and stuff. All kinds of weird shit. And then there's this thing called scrap picking that he's really good at. So like, you got PvP, you got PvE. You play the game in PvE mode, you level up, and you can get these skill books that increases your skill. And then you could also, like, they're fighting world bosses to get components that you use to craft your awesome weapons. So scrap picking is you find somebody that's like in a guild doing a big world PvE event. Find somebody that's almost dead and you run up and you kill them and you hope they drop their weapon and you take their weapon and you run away with it. That's called scrap picking. So I guess you have a chance to drop different kind of gear, even though like you only really see weapons. You don't see anybody dropping like shoulders or boots or chest pieces or anything like that. So maybe you have multiple gears on you that you could possibly drop. I don't know. So Elementalists, you don't see much of those in the show. Summoner, this guy named Luoji, he's like their tactician. He's like a really nerdy math guy. He can figure out all these like tactics and stuff. He plays a summoner, like someone's like a dog, but it's not really that good. So I don't know if he's just bad. But there's another guy, Bouncy. He plays the brawler. He's like kind of like Wolverine. He's got claws and he punches a lot. And he kind of like gets lost and confused. He's kind of like the green-haired guy on One Piece. But he's kind of like the comic relief, so it's not that big a deal. Like a lot of these players that... Okay, so when they kick Yichu off of Team Excellent Era, and his main character is called One Autumn Leaf. That's kind of the logo of the team. It's like a big maple leaf. So the rule with Glory is you can only have one account. So the account, when you join a guild, you have to sign a contract, and your account belongs to the guild. So they kick him off the team. So his One Autumn Leaf character goes on to this guy... Shang or something Shangshu? Something like that. So he leaves. He goes to this internet cafe down the street and he signs up for the cafe under the name Yichu. His name's Yichu, but he signs up as Yichu. XIU instead of QIU. So, like later on they're in this tournament and they like find out that he used a different name and they try to like kick him out of the tournament and he's like, well, his real name is Yichu, because he had this whole story. I didn't tell you the story, right? His dad doesn't like him playing games. So his dad kicked him out of the house. And he kind of disowned him and so wouldn't let him back in. Him and his grandpa kind of got into playing games with like Contra. And his grandpa got really old and died. And kind of like started losing his memory and shit. So he ended up finding that guy, Yu Michu. And they used to play this game, like this motorcycle super hang-on kind of a game, right? Where you have like you can race against your opponents, like they're top of the leaderboard, so you have like a ghost image of them. So when his friend dies, he ends up like buying this motorcycle game, and he has like this ghost image of his friend that's dead, so he can still kind of play with him even though he's gone. That was really cool. But then his sister ends up on his Team Excellent Era. Her name's Sumo Shing. She plays launcher, like I said. So she's kind of like torn between playing for this team that he used to be on and his new team he forms called Team Happy. And the whole, like, in the beginning it's really good because there's a lot of gameplay. And then in the middle, it kind of gets into some drama stuff, talking about all the story. And he's kind of recruiting these guys. First he recruits, like, Baozi. And then he starts doing, like, this whole server opens up called Server 10. So they don't know that he's the former battle god Yichu, he's playing as the name Lord Grim. So he starts getting all these world firsts for this new server. And the other big guilds, they don't play on this 10th server, but they have like these sub guilds. Like Team Blue Rain has a lower guild called Blue Brook. So he's fighting against the Blue Brook team. And then there's like Team Tiny Herb. I think they have like a different like farm league version of their guild. So when they notice that he's getting all these achievements and it's not their lower guilds getting it, they get kind of mad and they start kind of trying to figure out who he is, and they start to kind of attacking him in the game and trying to like destroy him and shit, but he keeps owning everybody. So he's kind of like nerfing or smurfing, but he's constantly trying to farm these materials from different bosses because he needs these world firsts in order to get the thing to make his Myriad Manifestation umbrella. So when you got all these 4, 8, 12, 16, like 24 different classes, right, that you can be. You can also be the unspecialized. If you don't choose a class at level 20, you can use all 120 low-level skills. So since he's the textbook of glory, he knows like all the classes the best. He chooses this, and like you can't really do it unless you have this Myriad Manifestation umbrella thing. Which don't really make a lot of sense because his friend's the one that invented it. So like, why would they have a class that's useless unless somebody invents this umbrella thing? So the umbrella, think about this, right? It's kind of like a short sword. You can extend it, and it's like the battle mage's lance. You can pop it out, and it's like a shield because the umbrella unfolds. You can pull back on it and make it into like a launcher. You can start shooting people with it. You can also like curl the end of it and make a scythe. You see that every now and then. Or you can make like the short sword and you pull the blade out of the end, and now you're dual wielding with it. So you can use like every kind of weapon there is with this Myriad Manifestation umbrella because there's myriad manifestations of it. It keeps changing forms. But you can't use any lethal skills. You can only use those 120 subclass skills. Like Dragon Tooth is like one of them. It's sort of like a really shitty skill. But if you know what you're doing, you can use it properly. You can still like juggle with it and combo people and shit. So that's what he's doing. He's like really good at it. So, let's see. Mewtwo dies. Su Musheng is like playing for Excellent Era. So they're trying to get into like the tournament scene and stuff, but they're not really good enough. But they keep overcoming all these different obstacles, and he's like the master of like making comebacks and winning, even though he's losing and stuff. He's also got this. He recruits this girl, little Tangro. She's like a friend of the owner of the cafe, and she's like a concert pianist. So she's got really good attacks per minute, like APM. But she can also hear really good. So the mechanic guy starts using these like sound traps on her, and she can hear it or something really good. So that's kind of cool. She does lose a lot, even though she's like one of the best battle mages because she trains so much. But she never does learn like the dragon raises its head or anything like that. She's just really good at like normal fighting. So yeah, like when you're watching the show and they're doing like the in-game shit, it's really high quality. So I'm thinking they're going to make a game based on that. That's Yichu, and that's Guochen. That's Qingguo. She's like the owner of the land cafe. What else have we got here? So this is like the anime here, so that's not what we're looking for. So I was trying to figure out what this show, the game, was based on. And somebody thought it was Dungeon Fighter Online, but that's like a side-scroller thing. But this game, Blade and Soul, is supposed to be real similar to it. The way they attack and stuff. So I downloaded this the other day. I'm thinking about trying it out and seeing if it's similar.
By evoking either the frenzy of the winds to pirouette around their opponent, chasse in and out of reach. Continuous.
I mean, it kind of looks similar.
The Blade Dancer's high damage output is tempered by their low defenses and reliance on careful resource management.
I don't know. Can't find any clips of the actual live-action anime. I'd probably get copyright strike if I did anyway. But there's all these pictures. Yeah, this guy's like one of their biggest fans. He doesn't realize who he is when he comes into the cafe at the beginning. That's Lil Tang. This is Team Blue Rain. This is their guild leader, and this guy right here is really cool. His name is Xiao Tan. He plays a swordsman, and his nickname is Sword Saint because he's like really good. He's like one of the gods of gaming or whatever, but like he constantly trash talks when he plays against you, and he's like running his mouth all the time. And then like at episode 37, 38, they make him one of the commentary guys during the tournament. It's really funny. And you got all these other people like the guild leaders of these other guilds. They kind of like they're all friends with Yachu because he used to be like top tier, and he still is. But he's like they try to kick him out of the league because of that name change, and they all came to his aid or whatever and like took up for him. So they decided to like eliminate all his past achievements from when he was Yachu because it wasn't his real name, which wasn't even his stuff anymore. So Excellent Era kind of got penalized because all of his achievements are gone. That's Bao Ci. That's Mo Fan. That's Wei Chen. That's the guy that plays the Warlock. He almost sold his Warlock in one episode because it was like he was going to quit because his hand. Apparently, your hand's like really important. Like moving a mouse apparently is like too much stress on your hand, and you can like damage it. Who else? That's Yachu. That guy right there is the leader of Tyranny, Tao Xuan. He plays like a brawler, but maybe it's a different kind of a brawler. A striker, maybe? He's got like punchy fists, like lions or something. I mean, you really got to check this show out. Here's a scene from... see, there's like a witch riding on a broom. Swordsman. That's the knight. That's the class got a shield. So, high quality shit. That's the Phantom Demon fight, I guess. I don't know why that's not on that other page. There's just one guy that was like... Yachu was mentoring him. That's Mo Fan. When he was in the Excellent Era, then he like went overseas and he came back and fought him in the last tournament. So it's like a mentor versus mentee. This guy right here, he was in a guild that they beat, and he was going to disband his guild, but then he joined Team Happy at the end. There's this one guy that kind of looks like my friend Luke. He plays their healer. Can't find him, but he's like... He doesn't do that much, but it's funny. Like, he was paying somebody to play his account for him, and then he didn't know how to actually do debuffs or whatever. Or cleansing or whatever it's called. So they had to teach him. There's Sumo Shang. She's hot as balls. Yeah, if you haven't seen this show yet, definitely check it out. Nobody's, like, told me that they've been watching it. I'm kind of surprised because it's so good. We need to have some discussions about this show because it's... If they made a game based on this, I think everybody would be playing it. But it doesn't seem like super balanced because there's a lot of classes you never see played. It's like you maybe think that they're not as good. I don't know how it would work. It's almost like, think about if you had like a world boss in WoW. Let's just use Onyxia for example. And let's say the only person that gets any loot from Onyxia for that week is the first person to kill her. So you got all these different guilds doing different instances of Onyxia, and only the ones that get the first kill actually counts and gets the loot. So then you have guilds that are actually progressing faster than other guilds. That would be interesting because you'd be like competing, like seriously, like racing for boss kills and stuff, getting world first. Plus, it'd be like you'd have to figure out how the boss mechanics work instead of just looking up on a guide. Yeah, so check it out. There's a lot of things like kind of surprise you with the PvP. Like, they do things where it's like a 5v5, or they'll have like a different mode. Instead of like 5v5, it's like a 5v5, but you fight one at a time, and then whenever you die, you keep whatever health you had left. Or whoever won keeps whatever. Like, if you got somebody down to like 70%, they would start the next fight with 70%, and they fight the next guy. And then if they kill that guy, maybe they had like 50% left, and then fight the next guy with their 50% health. And if you're a healer, you can kind of heal yourself too, which is kind of cheating. And they call that shameless because you're not supposed to heal yourself in those kind of fights. But if you do, you can do it, but you're not really. It's an unwritten rule. And there's this one fight that was like a 5v5 all at once, and like they knocked him off of a cliff. And like the one guy sacrificed himself by jumping off the cliff and grabbing the other two guys and pulling them down with him so the other guy could live and like fight the last guy. And then there was one fight where they were pretty much going to lose, so they kept like fighting each other, like team battling on purpose. And they kept like shooting the environment around them, and then they dropped the whole like towers and the buildings around on top of the other team and killed them with the environment. Stuff like that's pretty cool. You don't see that. Apparently I gotta go, so check it out.